Hello and welcome to Late Night Creatures, the only late night show where we draw creatures and it's at 11 p.m., which is pretty late at night. In fact, it's so late that it's almost morning. I'm your host, Cube Tortoise, otherwise known as Peter de Toro by people who know me on a personal basis. And today we're going to be drawing a topic of creature that I actually am really shocked we haven't done yet on the show, and that's desert creatures. Now, personally, deserts are one of my favorite ecosystems, biomes, whatever you want to call it. I think they're very interesting, and the animals that come out of them are really some of the most interesting in the world, in my humble opinion. So I'm very surprised that it's taken 31 episodes, which is a lot. I'm surprised we've made it this far without me doing an episode about creatures in the desert. So I'm excited, and we're gonna get into it right now. That's a line. But yeah, I like deserts. I like deserts a lot. They're a cool place. They're nice and sandy, so it's like a beach except without the dumb stuff. Like tiki bars and all that stuff. And if you like that type of stuff, I do too. But I'd be fine to go to a beach without one. In fact, I do on a pretty normal basis. Now, again, because this is a topic that I like, I actually am going into this with ideas of some kind, just a bit, not too much. We aren't gonna stray too far from our normal path here. But one thing I thought of is sort of this nomadic race of creatures that have these either organic or inorganic type of shrouds over most of their body to shield themselves from the desert's sun and heat. And I have no idea what to call these creatures or what to make their face look like. And yes, tortoises do live in the desert, uh, as was pointed out. So that says something there. In fact, my own tortoise, who, if you don't know, I do own a tortoise, which is one of the big reasons that's my alias, is because I own a tortoise. And his name's Bob. He's great. He's a Russian tortoise from Uzbekistan, from the deserts of Uzbekistan. So he's pretty cool. And he is from a desert. So I have basically a bit of an affinity in multiple ways to deserts. I'm not quite sure where to take this body because it's looking wormish right now, and that's not where I want to keep it going. So let's go ahead and bring this. There we go. That was an easy fix. I don't know why I was stressing out. Well, that part was. I'm not sure what to do about the top, so we're gonna just keep going here. There we go. That's right. And then just bring it down like this, keeping that same sort of humped structure. And because of that, maybe these rags are an organic part of its body. Maybe it's just some form of a tougher outer skin that protects it from the sun and isn't as sensitive. Maybe it's not connected to the rest of his nervous system, so if it gets sunburnt or damaged, they don't actually feel it. I have some ideas for this face. We're gonna come back to it later. I'm gonna finish up this body real quick, so we can do a similar kind of gross folded over skin look for these arms here. Bring that down. Do some nice fingers, kind of craggled and old looking. And not to say this creature's old, that's just sort of how the fingers of the species look. Taper them off at the ends. That's not the shape I was going for. Taper them off at the ends there. There we go. Those are nice grabbers. They look like they're very good for rooting around in sand, which is good because as a nomadic species, they have to find their food on the go. So I assume they're digging in the sand and pulling up certain sand-dwelling spiders and beetles, that type of stuff. And again, this is all organic parts of the body. And then we'll have one coming out here. It sags down a bit because, you know, that's how loose skin works. It droops. And then we'll have this one holding a, how's that other thumb look? More or less like that. Holding a little grub for eating purposes, if it wasn't obvious. So that's why he would be holding a grub. Alright, cool. So there he is. Our little friend. So we can bring in that sort of similar structure. Drawing our little beetle here. There he is. This is going to be a very basic, just little beetle. Your nice standard beetle. This is a very cliche standard beetle. And then we have this come in here. There he is. Okay, so now onto this face. Because of the direction he's facing, that hole doesn't make much sense. But it's alright. I'm going to fix it by making his head go out like this. And do this kind of deal. And yes, give it sort of a crocodile shape. Fun fact, crocodiles, to my knowledge, or alligators, either, don't really live in deserts, but I think they're kind of like correct me if I'm wrong, but they're kind of like a desert trope. Like they're kind of a thing, like when you think like ancient deserts and stuff, you kind of look at, I don't know, I whenever I think of like Egyptian stuff and that type of stuff, I always have crocodiles in mind. I'm not sure why. There's a reason for it. I'm just not sure what that reason is. So yeah, so we have that snout there, and so I'm gonna actually erase this a good amount so that we can work on where that hole should actually go. Now that I have that snout drawn in. So we can bring this down around here, and then bring this under, bring that up and around. But we still want this hole to shield the eyes. We want to shield the eyes of the creature so that I'm gonna mention every time it happens when I'm in the middle of the stream. I don't actually think last time it happened, I didn't think we could hear it, but my AC just kicked on. The fan just turned on, so if you start hearing background noise, that's what that is. And midstream, there's not too much I can do about it. So apologies if there's background noise. I'll try and talk a little louder to compensate. I don't know if you just noticed, but I slammed the canvas over to the other side of the screen on accident. We need to bring this around more like to there. That looks good. Because we needed these eyes to have a fairly good window to look out of. There he is. And then maybe we can give sort of a glimpse of what that eye is. Maybe bring that up more. Trying to get this looking right. I don't want to waste too much time on it. Or not really waste, but spend too much time on it. Oh, you know what the problem is? This is the problem. So we gotta bring that down. There's been something wrong with this perspective, but I've been messing with the wrong issue. Yes, there we go. I went on a tangent about crocodiles in the desert, and I don't know where. Look, that trope might be just in my mind. I'd like, if it's not, that's great. But I can entirely believe that that's just my weird thing that I like. I like the thought of crocodiles being in the desert. So, that's just sort of my deal. So here he is. There we go. Oh, his face is disproportionately kind of cute compared to the rest of his body. Let me fix that real quick, giving him some odd shapes and that type of stuff. Okay, and then make him a little cuter again. All had a spike tooth. Oh, look at him or her. I don't know. It's kind of this debatable. It's up for debate. You decide. Not like in the comments, but just, decide for yourself if it's a boy or a girl. I won't tell you how to live your life or interpret this drawing, but there it is. This seems not detailed enough. And then we can add something in there, maybe that. Pull this, kinda, to make that look more like a flap. There he is. I'm gonna keep calling it he. To me, it's a he. So let's see. Now this creature needs something else to fill up this canvas. So we have this crocodile nomad. They're a proud people, but nomads usually are nomadic for a few reasons. One is to find water. So one option is this species exhausts water sources and then leaves to find new ones, but that's boring. So we're gonna make them a hunting society, which means that they hunt a specific creature that also roams the desert, and I'm gonna draw that creature now. And I just got an idea. It's gonna be a bit of a cliche, but that's all right, because I'm gonna throw my own twist on it, because why wouldn't I? But it's a fun desert creature that appears in many things. So I'm gonna draw just a nice little sand dune coming down back here. I'm just gonna lightly kind of erase that line there, because I don't know why I drew that. If I was gonna put something in the background, give me a sec. I'm gonna do a cool trick. I need a bigger brush. Then I'm gonna do a cool trick. It's called I blend this into the white, so that there's that little bit of sand is still there, but it's less noticeable. It's a fun trick. So what's this cliche creature, I hear you asking through the computer with my magic ears? Well, it's the you know what? Actually, we'll wait. I'm gonna just start drawing, and then we'll just you'll see what it is. How about that? That's the new deal. Not like Roosevelt's, whatever. I'm not gonna go into a historical speech about the New Deal on this episode of Late Night Creatures. That's for a different episode. That's for the episodes where we draw presidents, which we kind of already did in the election episode, which I actually forgot I did until I said that. Over 30 episodes is a lot of episodes. Like, I'm sure there's some that, like, if I were to go back through the list and look at the ones that I've done, I'd be like, wow, I did do that. I don't remember that one at all. Because I do these when I'm really tired, so I'm almost certain that some of them are just like at days. So we got that little shape there. And then draw in this here. Erase all that so that we can put something a little closer. Yeah, I got significantly bigger. It's a bit more in the foreground here. Okay, so if you haven't guessed, it's the classic sandworm, seen in such things as... I can't remember off the top of my head. Look, they're a thing. I know for a fact they're a thing. I don't need justification for it. They exist. Well, they don't exist. That'd be horrifying if they existed. But they exist in science fiction and pop culture lexicons. But because they're being hunted, instead of the basic carnivorous sharp-toothed sandworm, I'm gonna do one that's actually an herbivore and goes around scavenging for plants and oases. Oases? What's the plural of oasis? Oases seems right. It goes to green places in the desert and eats the plants and then burrows to other places using the cold under the earth to cool its body from the desert heat in order to... That's too angry of an eye. In order to use less energy so it has to eat less often. I like desert stuff. If you haven't noticed, I'm going much more into biological lore with these monsters than the silly lore that I usually go into. I meant to warn you guys this was probably going to be a bit of a different kind of episode. Hopefully not like too severely different, but different in certain regards for sure. Uh, yeah. So I'm just gonna try and give him just a nice cute little eye here. Aw, that that look could be cleaner. There we go. And then, well, nope. Okay, give me a sec. That's it. And he has these little eye bags because he's tired. And you think he's a burrowing creature, he would have a small eye. Well, he does. But because he has to go down and up and down and up, his eyes can dilate and adjust to light extremely easily. And then he has his mouth down here, the rest of his mouth. He has a trunk similar to an elephant or a seahorse. And then he has the mouth and a tongue, even. A nice long tongue similar to a giraffe. Let me add in some creases to his body here. And then maybe some hair. I'm thinking hair. Just, you know, just a bit of just that's a very nice style. That's some salon quality. That's some salon quality waves. This this worm knows where it's at. He knows he can go to what's a good desert name? Calypso desert? Calypso seems right. You know, it doesn't matter. There's no real desert name. So you can go to Calypso's hair shack. He does so every now and then. Get his hair done, and he looks great. I mean, just look at him. Let him go as planned. I'm gonna actually add the sort of just the indication of his body. That didn't go as planned. I'm gonna add the indication of his body up here, sort of just like a pile in the sand. And we're gonna do that same thing we did earlier, where I mark that out a bit, get the blender. That's too big now. Get the blender and blend that in a bit so that, you know, that line's still there. And wha-bam. Let's see, what else can I do? Well, about that much time left. So we have our worm, which is, yeah, we have our worm here. There he is. He's a good boy. I haven't named anything, and you know what? I'm not even gonna worry about it too much for this episode. It's not the focal point for once. Well, it's never really the focal point, but it's sort of just a thing we do. I'll think of names for them just as a species, but it's not gonna be no silly names. I care about this more. I care about every episode I do. Let's be clear, but I've gone kind of less jokey, and we're gonna stick with it. We're gonna continue on that route to the best of my ability. I would say our ability, but I'm coming up with the names. So anyway, I had an idea for another desert thing to draw. Oh wait, before I move on, I actually want to draw this sort of the sand flying out, kinda doing that kind of deal. So maybe make this look a little grainy here, using my tap method. And that's some nice sand flying out as he rises up. We can do a similar kind of, that's way too angular, that looks like fire. We can do a similar sort of blob right here to just make it look nice and sandy. Okay, cool. And then do another little dot. All right. I probably should have done the outlines to where I could get rid of them. Okay. Oh, and then maybe do just a bit of like sort of that, so he has some running off of him into a bit of a pile there. Yeah, because he's just come out of the burrowed area, and so he's got, that looks kind of liquidy, but that's all right. I'm all right with that. So yeah, he's got some sand draining off of him, onto the ground there. Make a couple more piles so it's more clear that one's going into a pile, so we'll leave it as it is. And then I think we need one more thing to round us off here. Okay, I got it. Guys, I got it covered. So, along with being a hunter society, this one in particular is actually a treasure hunter. So I'm going to give it some treasure hunting garb here. This is a snout cover. It covers the snout. It serves no real... I dropped my pen. First time I've done this in an episode. Mark it in the books. Whoever's keeping track of the books, because it's for sure not me. So that doesn't serve any real purpose. It's just aesthetic, but it's the sign of a treasure hunter. What treasure are they searching for? Well, of course, they're searching for the statue that looks like what I'm about to draw. And this statue holds a great power. Not really. The statue is just a statue. But it holds the greatest power of all to a nomadic society. Cultural significance. And so it's just this little idol right here. Oh no. I've done it now. Just bear with me. Because I've made a mistake. But I'm gonna stick with the mistake. Because it's a funny mistake. Yes. This grand idol. If you well, you'll get it eventually. If you don't get it yet. But there we go. Here comes the funny stuff. It's this idol of incredible cultural significance that he's searching for. It's SpongeBob. It's just SpongeBob. It's just a statue of SpongeBob. Oh man. The thought of someone spending time, money, and resources to look for this historic statue, and then just finding out that it was just SpongeBob SquarePants the whole time is a really funny thought. They'd be so disappointed. Oh gosh. Can you imagine the poor archaeologist like, I finally found it after all these years, and then he pulls it up out of the ground and it's just this. Oh boy. Poor man. His wife left him because he was so obsessed with the treasure. And you can imagine how he feels now. He feels quite the fool, I would assure you. There you go. I forget how SpongeBob, that's how SpongeBob's hat looks, kinda. Right? Yeah, sure, that's fine. I'm not gonna bother too much with it. Okay, great. Oh, man. Okay, so these guys. You know what? Let's go nice and standard. Since they're crocodile nomads, I'll just call them the the chromads. I drew the right shape there. I don't know why I erased it. Chromads. And then this sandworm, we'll call it a Oasis. That's how you spell Oasis, right? We'll call it an Oasis eater. That's why there's no more oases in the desert. Let's see. And then the wonderful statue is called, I'm just gonna, let's be honest with the public. It's SpongeBob. It's just SpongeBob. Anywho, it's time to shade. And what else color do you shade the desert? That was a bad sentence. You shaded a nice gold, yellow, orange color. Oh, jeez. Had to burp. Anywho. So yeah, so now we're gonna go into shade. Just SpongeBob. You know, we were doing so well. We were doing so well. we we had these nice two interacting species. They one was predator, one was prey. It was great. We had this whole mythology built up, and then it all culminated. All of this work, all of this world building and lore culminated in a statue in the desert of SpongeBob SquarePants. Who? Let me just say, the fact. Look, okay, his last name is SquarePants. Like that's the family name. Like per the show, that's the family name. But he's I don't know. Wait, do his parents wear square pants? Okay, that might change things. I know like his cousin or whatever did, but if he's the only one who wears square pants, then why is that the name? And another thing, actually, another thing. Um, so he works at the Krusty Krab, okay, but why? Because he clearly has some level of culinary skill, and I get that he's supposed to be like naive and childlike, especially in the more recent episodes. But why would he not, once he's done the Krusty Krab for a while, just as a character, why wouldn't he like start his own restaurant? Or maybe he's just waiting. I guess he likes the Krusty Krab and wants to, you know, work there forever, so he's hoping that Mr. Krabs gives it to him. But we've seen from the SpongeBob movie that Mr. Krabs wouldn't give it to him because he's too young, and he'd rather give it to Squidward. And Squidward's always going to be older than SpongeBob. So really, after the SpongeBob movie, there should have been a status quo shift where SpongeBob went and opened his new restaurant, and it's sort of a big change for the show that comes around with finally having a movie, which is something that happens in a lot of shows. I'm pretty sure it happened for no, it didn't happen. No, I think Phineas and Ferb did do a status quo shift of some kind after they did their movie, or did their movie end the season? Whatever, doesn't matter. But if you get to the point where you should have, Teen Titans Go, use their movie to add just an entirely new character to their show, just in general, and they use the movie to promote the show, which is a good model if you have a cartoon show that gains enough traction and notoriety to be made into a movie. So the SpongeBob really should have capitalized on that, but they didn't, and it worked out fine. I mean, the show is still going strong and is producing some of the best episodes it's ever produced recently, so that's good. But that was just because the main reason that's been happening is because all the people who watched SpongeBob when they were younger are now old enough to actually work on the show, and they are, and so it feels much like the older episodes before the movie. The movie kind of did shift the status quo because it made SpongeBob a lot more childlike than he used to be, because that was a big point in the movie. But I don't know. I feel like they should have done they should have done more. And then of course in the movie there was a second Krusty Krab, and there's that whole thing that like since it's never mentioned again, is the movie even part of the canon? And if it isn't, then like kind of what was the point of making it if it was just supposed to be a one-off? You know, I have a lot more issue with the SpongeBob movie than I thought I did. I just went on a significantly long rant about the SpongeBob movie and what it means for the franchise. I got into a bit of a state, actually. I looked down and I just realized we're almost out of time. So I think I got into a zone for a second. So apologies. Our drawing's done. I didn't actually, yeah. So our drawing is finished. Our wonderful desert creatures, SpongeBob SquarePants. It's time for me to depart, and it's time for you all to get some sleep, myself included. So have a nice night. I hope you enjoyed Late Night Creatures. I really enjoyed the episode, and I got to rant about cartoons, which is something I don't get to do too often. So yeah, bye.